Unit 1. State funds, including financing programs related to the establishment further development of business through national programs. State funds that enable certain financing programs related to the establishment and/or further development of business are related to incentive measures. Incentive measures in Croatia have been specially developed and enabled by law to initiate entrepreneurial investment from domestic and all foreign investors in order to increase the competitiveness of the Croatian economy. Equality of the parties and equality of the treatment are the underlying principles in the process of determining incentive measures for investors where rights and obligations equally belong to domestic and foreign investors. Therefore, in the same way, domestic and foreign investors have access to grants, financial support and tax relief. Incentive measures may be used by entrepreneurs registered in the Republic of Croatia who make an investment in fixed assets in a minimum amount of €50,000 and with the opening of at least 3 new jobs for micro-entrepreneurs. €150,000 and with the opening of at least 5 new jobs for small, medium and large entrepreneurs. €50,000 and under the condition of opening at least 10 new jobs for information and communication systems and software development centers. Initial investment support is calculated as a percentage of the value of the investment, which is determined on the basis of the justified investment costs. The eligible investment costs are material, value of property, buildings and equipment, machinery, and intangible assets, patents, licenses, know-how, or 2 years gross salary. The minimum keeping period of the investment and job openings associated with the investment is 5 years for large entrepreneurs, and 3 years for small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, but cannot be shorter than the period of use of incentive measures. The incentive measures for investment projects in the Republic of Croatia are regulated by the Investment Promotion Act, Official Gazette, No. 102/15, 25/18, and refer to investment projects in production and processing activities, development and innovation activities, business support activities and high-value added service activities. Accordingly, to all investors investing in production and processing activities, development and innovation activities, business support activities and high-value added service activities, the Republic of Croatia offers support in the most attractive is tax relief. In practice, this means paying a lower rate or being exempted from paying taxes on profits. When talking about investments and investment activities, it is necessary to analyze the very notion of investment. Investment is defined as an investment in fixed assets, material and immaterial, entered into the ownership of incentive measures holder, minimum amount of €150,000 or €50,000 for micro-entrepreneurs, relating to the establishment of a new company, expansion of the existing one or modernization or improvement of the business process. For example, in relation to real estate, the standard value of the base is the value of real estate building and equipment machinery, standard base. In the transport sector, the costs of purchasing transport equipment, movable property, cannot be included in eligible investment costs, standard base. The eligible investment costs will not include land, formerly built buildings, facilities and previously used equipment machinery. Under the terms investment and eligible investment costs, certain categories of intangible investments, patents, licenses, know-how, may be covered up to a limit of 50% of the standard base. Intangible assets that represent eligible investment costs must meet the following conditions. Must be used solely in the company. Must be considered as assets with the option of write-offs, amortizable assets. Must be purchased by third parties under market conditions, excluding related entrepreneurs. Must be included in the assets of the incentive measures holder, that is, must be included in the balance sheet of the incentive measures holder for at least 5 years. Investment also means the creation of new jobs related to the investment, and the standard basis for this investment is calculated as a gross salary over a 2-year period. The promotion of investments in the Republic of Croatia in the sense of the applicable Investment Promotion Act is an investment aid and incentive measures system for timely realization of the necessary investment activities, and the manner and deadlines of fulfillment of all necessary investment activities are determined, with a view to achieving a successful and timely realization of the investment project in the territory of the Republic of Croatia. With regard to support, a variety of opportunities for entrepreneurs has been elaborated, relating to 1. Tax support for micro-entrepreneurs. 2. Tax support for small, medium and large entrepreneurs. 3. Support for eligible costs of new jobs related to the investment project. 4. Support for eligible training costs related to the investment project. 5. Support for A. Development and innovation activities. B. Business support activities and C. High value added services activities. 6. Support for capital expenditure of the investment project. 7. Support for labor-intensive investment projects. 8. Support for investment projects through the economic activation of inactive assets owned by the Republic of Croatia. Tax support for micro-entrepreneurs is a reduction of the profit tax rate by 50% of the prescribed rate over a period of up to 5 years, under the condition of a minimum investment of €50,000 in long-term assets and the opening of at least 3 new jobs related to the investment project, within the period of 1 year from the beginning of the investment. Tax support for small and medium-sized and large enterprises is included in the reduction of the tax rate of 50-100% of the prescribed rate over a period of 10 years, with the requirement of investment in long-term assets and the creation of new jobs related to the investment project in a 3-year realization period of the project. The reduction in the tax rate depends on the amount of investment and the number of new jobs. The prescribed profit tax rate in the Republic of Croatia is 18%, which means that, based on the Investment Promotion Act, the income tax can be paid at a lower rate of 9% or 4.5%, that is, it is possible to be fully exempted and not to pay the profit tax when the whole amount of tax represents state aid. Non-refundable grants for eligible costs of new jobs related to the investment project are in the amount of 10 to 30% of the total cost of 2-year salary, gross 2, that is maximum from €3,000 to €9,000 per new job, depending on the unemployment rate in the county where the investment project is realized. Article 9 Paragraph 3 of the Investment Promotion Decree, OG, 31/16, provides for incentive measures for the employment of an unemployed person who had been registered for at least 3 months with the Croatian Employment Service prior to the conclusion of an employment contract with the incentive measure holder, or for the employment of a person who is being employed for the first time and it is a person without occupation, a person of auxiliary occupation and vocational occupations, up to 25 years of age, without being registered in the records of the unemployed, or for the employment of a person who is being employed for the first time, and has obtained secondary, higher or higher education qualifications, up to 29 years of age, without being registered in the Register of Unemployed with the Croatian Employment Service, or for the employment of a person up to 29 years of age registered in the Register of the Unemployed with the Croatian Employment Service within 90 days of graduation. Earning a vocation after the completion of a secondary education for a person without occupation after the completion of an elementary education, or for the employment of a person whose employment contract has been cancelled due to the opening of bankruptcy proceedings. The intensity of support for eligible training costs for workers in new workplaces related to the investment project does not exceed 50% of the eligible training costs and can be increased by up to 70% as follows. 10% if training is done for disabled workers. 10% if the grant is awarded to a medium-sized entrepreneur. 20% if the grant is awarded to a small and micro entrepreneur. The amount of non-refundable grants for training may amount up to 50% of non-refundable grants for the creation of new jobs related to the investment. It cannot exceed the maximum intensity as follows. Must not exceed 70% of the eligible training costs, nor 50% of the amount of non-refundable subsidies for the creation of new jobs related to the investment. Eligible training costs are the costs of the lecturers, for the hours during which the lecturers participated in the training, business-related costs associated with the lecturers and trainees, directly related to the training project, such as travel costs, material and consumables costs directly related to the project, depreciation of tools and equipment, if used exclusively for training projects, the costs of consultancy services related to the training project, training staff costs and general indirect costs, administrative costs, rent, utilities, for the hours that the trainees spend in a training. Accommodation costs are excluded. Grants are not awarded for the training that entrepreneurs carry out to ensure compliance with compulsory national training standards. In cases where the support involves both forms of training, specific and general, that is in cases where the special and general character of the training cannot be separated, the maximum intensity calculation for the special training will be applied. For investments in development and innovation activities, additional support for new job creation costs, up to 50%, is approved for investment in activities that affect the development of new and significantly improve existing products, production batches, processes and technologies. Grants for the purchase of equipment machinery up to 20% of eligible costs may be granted for investment in development and innovation activities, up to a maximum of €0.5 million, provided that tangible assets are high technology. For investments in business support activities, additional support is awarded for job creation costs, 25% increase. For investments related to customer relations centers, separated business activities centers, logistics and distribution centers in production and processing activities, and information and communication systems and software development centers. Business support activities specifically refer to customer relations centers, all forms of call centers, multimedia contact centers and other types of contact centers with customers' clients focused on technical support and customer-client problem solving. Centers of separate business activities, focusing on the separation and concentration of business activities such as finance, accounting, marketing, product design, audio-visual activity, human resource development and information technology development. Logistics and distribution centers, aimed at the establishment and construction of high-tech logistic and distribution centers that enable intermodal transport of goods, warehousing, packaging and handling of goods, aimed at a significant improvement of logistics and distribution operations within business processes and the delivery of goods. Information and communication systems and software development centers, development and application of information systems, separation of information systems management, development of telecommunication network operating centers and development and application of new software solutions. For investments in high-value added services activities, additional grants for job creation costs are approved, 25% increase. For investments in projects, for example in the tourism sector, such as projects related to accommodation facilities, hotel, aparthotel, tourist village or a camping site with 4 or more stars category, health, congress, nautical or cultural tourism, as well as entertainment and recreational centers. The activities of high-value added services are related to creative services activities, activities in the field of architecture, design, various forms of media communication, advertising, publishing, culture, creative industries and other activities in the field of article. Catering and tourist services activities are projects of catering and tourist facilities for accommodation, categories 4 or 5 stars, types, hotel, aparthotel, tourist village and camps. Projects of catering and tourist facilities, hotel heritage and other types of accommodation facilities created by the renovation of the cultural and historical heritage with a mandatory delivery of conservation conditions of reconstruction. Projects of additional amenities of all the above-mentioned types of accommodation facilities. Projects of health, congress, nautical, cultural tourism, golf tourism, entertainment and or recreational centers and parks, tourism and ecological projects and other innovative projects in high-value tourism. Industrial engineering services activities. In addition to tourism projects, there are activities of creative services, activities in the field of architecture, design, promotion and other activities in the field of art, as well as activities of management, advisory, educational services and activities of industrial engineering services. Development and innovation activities that affect the development of new and significantly improve existing products, production batches and processes and manufacturing technologies. For investments in technological development and innovation activities, grants will be approved for the purchase of equipment machinery up to 20% of the actual eligible costs of equipment machinery and up to a maximum of Kuna 0.5 meters equivalent, provided that the equipment machinery purchased must be of high technology. Support for capital costs of the investment project is approved for production and processing activities, for investments in fixed assets of at least €5 million, under the condition of opening at least 50 new jobs. The condition is that the share of investment in machinery equipment amounts to at least 40% of the total value of the investment project and at least 50% of the purchased machinery equipment must be high-technology equipment. These non-refundable grants in maximum of 0.5 or €1 million depend on the unemployment rate in the county where the investment project is being realized. The conditions for exercising the right to incentive measures for capital costs of an investment project: investment in fixed assets of at least €5 million with the requirement of opening at least 50 new jobs. Support for labor-intensive investment projects is additional support for job opening costs for entrepreneurs who, related to the approved investment project, employ a minimum of 100 or more persons within a period of 3 years after the beginning of the investment. Support for investment projects through the economic activation of inactive assets owned by the Republic of Croatia. Inactive assets consist of land or buildings owned by the Republic of Croatia, administered by the Ministry of State Property, which is not in operation and on which no economic activity is performed. After the lease expires or the maximum support intensity has been reached, the beneficiary of the support may conclude a purchase agreement regarding the asset with the Ministry of State Property. According to the application procedure for the use of incentive measures under the Investment Promotion Act, OG 102/15, 25/18, an entrepreneur aiming to acquire the status of incentive measures holder is obliged to submit an application for the use of incentive measures in the prescribed forms to the Ministry of Economy, Entrepreneurship and Crafts. The implementing instrument of this Act is the Investment Promotion Decree, OG 31/16, which prescribes the form and mandatory contents of the application for granting beneficiary status. It prescribes additional forms, the procedure for applying, approving and using the support, and the mandatory contents of the annual report on the execution of the investment project and the use of grants. According to the prescribed procedure, an entrepreneur wishing to acquire a status of a beneficiary of investment support is required to submit the application prior to the commencement of investment to the Ministry of Economy, Entrepreneurship and Crafts. Mandatory attachments. Application forms. Collective statement. Business plan for 5 years with the projection of financial statements, balance sheet and profit and loss account. Building permit or certificate of the main project. For craftsmen, a statement on the profit tax system entry. The application is submitted to the Ministry of Economy, Entrepreneurship and Craft before the start of the investment. The certification of a holder of incentive measures status is issued within 60 days. Example of the calculation of state support in relation to the type of investment. In order for an investor to know how much he is entitled to support, it is necessary to know how to calculate it in relation to the set variables. The total investment support is calculated as a percentage of the value of the investment, that is, it is determined on the basis of the eligible costs of investing in tangible and intangible assets or on the basis of the eligible costs of the opening up of new jobs related to the investment, wage cost. The maximum support intensity, established by the regional support map, amounts to 25%, 35% or 45% of total investment costs, depending on whether the project investment is realized by a small, medium or large entrepreneur, a company or craft that is a taxpayer. The minimum keeping period of investment and new jobs opened related to the investment is 5 years for large entrepreneurs and 3 years for small and medium-sized businesses, but may not be shorter than the period of use of the grant. When calculating the maximum intensity of the support, it is necessary to follow the classification of entrepreneurs in accordance with Annex I to Commission Regulation, European Union, number 651/2014 of the 17th of June, 2014. When classifying an entrepreneur, affiliated companies and partnerships related to him should also be taken into account.